Ready, give it to go. Terrence, you first. Accio. Good. Bailey.
Accio.
Very good. Luke.
Accio.
Wonderful. Now Gretchen.
Accio.
Excellent. Now all together on the count of 3. 1, 2, 3.
Accio Hogwarts Radio.
This is Hogwarts Radio, episode 242 for April 28th, 2019. Hogwarts Radio is the official podcast for wizarding news from HPA&A, discussing all things Harry Potter, Fantastic Beasts, and the rest of the wizarding world. For the quickest up-to-date news on the franchise, make sure you check out wizarding.news. Hello, everyone, and this is Hogwarts Radio, broadcasting to Harry Potter fans worldwide since 2008. I'm Terrence Pinkston.
I'm Alex Bowman.
I'm Tyler Starr.
And I'm Gretchen Rush.
Our show can be found virtually anywhere online, such as iTunes, the Google Podcast app, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Radio Public, and other places where podcasts are aggregated.
It doesn't matter where or how you listen, just make sure to tap the subscribe button, and we guarantee you'll have a new episode each Sunday.
We also invite you to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram so you never miss an update from the show.
And don't forget, Hogwarts Radio is also on Patreon. By pledging, you'll have instant access to many benefits, including Into the Common Room, behind-the-scenes planning of the show, Hogshead Radio, and much more. Sign up today over at patreon.com/Hogwarts Radio. Welcome to episode 242 after taking a couple of weeks off. So thank you for bearing with us during our extended spring break. But a few programming notes before we kick off today's episode. Bailey is still in Hawaii trying to photograph blast-ended Scroots. And Luke is stuck in Westeros for the foreseeable future. So,
Rip.
Yeah, definitely. Hey, speaking of that, we had a lot of fun last episode with the Drinks and Nose Things podcast. And it was really weird because, like, right after we finished recording, it was like, bye, because they had to start their own stream. And, like, I don't even feel like we even got to say, like, see you later or anything. Sad face.
They're busy people.
They really are, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is their time of the year to do stuff.
This is it for them.
This is it for them.
Oh, yeah,
Their podcast is over after this one, right? Poor guys.
Oh,
Ours is indefinite.
Oh, sure. Yeah, we're going to keep going. Mm-hmm.
Forever. Yeah.
Forever. So, funny thing crossed my mind earlier this week regarding credit cards and debit cards and stuff like that. You know, as I was going through life, adulting, stumbling through this thing that we call life. Yeah, I know, right? But it got me thinking, like, do we think Gringotts had its own form of, like, credit or debit cards?
I mean, this is going to sound kind of sad. I think they at least have to have some kind of credit system, right? Based off of, like, the Economics 101, the macro class I took in college because I had to for my degree. I did not understand it, but I memorized everything I could and spit it out and passed. But so I'm just going to, like, pretend to know things and be like, oh, economics. But also, like, I love the Weasleys. I think they're wonderful, but I also, know their economic strife. And then, they also have a house and they support kids. And so I'm like, well, they probably have a mortgage like my husband and I at some point. So I don't know, unless there's some magical way of having equity. I would imagine so. And yes, I just use magical and equity in the same sentence.
Magical equity.
Magical equity. I wish I had some.
That's awesome. Gretchen, you had a note about this.
I think wizards dealing gold. And that's it. And goblins dealing gold.
So
what about silver and bronze?
Those are technically included, yes. But not a priority. I think they are focused on the gold. My thought was maybe like the stores themselves, like in Diagon Alley, they have some kind of crediting system. Like in the 1800s, you would go to your local grocer or whatever, and you would say, put me down for 2 eggs. And they put your credit on the list. You know what I'm talking about. We were all there.
Sure.
So that was kind of what I was thinking.
Yes, you were.
Oh, goodness.
I mean, if we take Universal Studios into canonical whatever, there are banknotes that you can exchange Muggle currency for. Kind of the same thing. It's not gold or silver or
True.
bronze.
Well, I would think of that more of as like a currency exchange program thing, kind of.
Yeah. Or could Gringotts be like a pawn shop where you like bring in, I have this ancient cauldron. I would like to use this as collateral to get money.
That's a good point, because I mean, let's face it, who has the gold to buy a house? I mean, maybe Harry does, or the
Harry
Malfoys.
does.
Yeah, but I have to imagine that there's some sort of credit system, at least for large purchases like that.
Well, it's also super unclear how much large purchases are, because we know a broomstick is like 10 galleons or something. I don't even remember. So, like, how much is a house?
So is that like the equivalent of a car, a broomstick?
It seems like it.
I think so. Because there's
Yeah.
even like the minibus version.
Okay, I'm so sorry. I'm like dying of laughter in the corner, only because as I have tweeted, I am very excited. This is my first time recording with Tylor, but Tylor has a wand right now, and he is like deep in thought, and he has like got this professorial look with this wand about like the credit system of Gringotts, and everyone's like talking so in depth, and here's Tylor like, to be or not to be status, and I'm like, oh, this is just too good, and I just started laughing.
I
my God.
love thinking about this stuff when it comes to the Wizarding World.
I know. I love it.
I also was thinking, how scary would it be to owe goblins like money if they lend you money? Forget interest rates. Just think about how scary a goblin would be when they need to collect their money.
Oh my God, can you imagine like goblin debt collectors?
Oh my God, that is so scary.
Jesus.
I'm not even kidding.
That's like, wow.
I just like substitute characters from The Departed with goblins. And that's the scenario that's running through my head about goblin debt collectors. I'm like, ooh, okay. Yeah, don't want to cross them. Ugh.
I don't know. What would a goblin do, though? I mean, I feel like they would eat you or something. They would bite you, or I mean, they're like 3 feet tall. They're they're like, I don't know, maybe like $1.25 soaking wet. You can
Think about
easily
what they
kick
did to a
one.
poor dragon, though. A Ukrainian iron belly,
True, very true.
not a small dragon.
Yeah. Fun to think about. What a kickoff for this week's episode. If you have any thoughts about a kind of a credit system in the Wizarding World, let us know. We'd love to hear all about it. Well, now let's go ahead and get to the news, because there's been a lot since we've been off over the past couple of weeks. I feel like we're going to have like a month's worth of news in this one episode. So, Gretchen, go ahead and start us off here.
I know, we have a lot. So we'll start with something pretty interesting. The title of this article is Warner Brothers, quote, freaking out about Johnny Depp's suit. So here are some quotes from an inside source. Executives at Warner Brothers are wondering how to deal with the backlash of the Depp matter on the Harry Potter franchise. High-level female execs at the studio are extremely worried about working with Depp and the message it sends to the public. This is yet another blow to the morale of female employees at the studio. If Warner Brothers continues to stick by Depp, it would reveal a lot about the values the company holds. Many at Warner Brothers wish that Rowling hadn't come out so strongly behind Depp, because having made her opinion so public boxes them into a corner. So it's a very interesting statement from an inside source. Terrence, what do you think about all this?
Yeah, so WB is freaking out internally about the franchise, and rightly so. J.K. Rowling really put the studio in a tough spot last year when she reiterated her support in the casting decision of Johnny Depp. However, I feel like this is only one thing out of many that's really putting WB in such a tizzy. I mean, really, let's face it, the Wizarding World franchise is the moneymaker for the studio right now. Crimes of Grindelwald did not deliver the results they needed, didn't make the money they needed. And as a studio, Warner Brothers has been putting out mediocre movies over the past few years because, yeah, sure, we can ride the coattails of the Wizarding World franchise. They're not innovating in the studio. They're not innovating behind the camera. The recent hasteful departure of Kevin Tsujihara also left many questions about the state of internal affairs of the executive management team. Now, new details about the allegations with Johnny Depp and Amber Heard really not helping matters either.
So can I just get some clarification on this one? Because I read a lot about that Johnny Depp had brought. And mind you, I've been living under a rock for the last 3 weeks. I've been in a play and we've been rehearsing like crazy. But is this the suit that we're referencing when we're saying that WB is all up in arms, or is there a new suit that I'm not aware of? We're talking about the defamation suit. Everyone's nodding their heads. Awesome. Okay.
Yes, the visual cues work really well in the podcast.
Thank you, guys. I felt like I should narrate that for our audience.
Yes.
It's new details about that suit that have come to light.
Okay. Does someone want to give me the spark notes just for a minute? Because I read the basic allegations that he was making, that she, not to get too into the weeds on the details, but that a lot of the domestic violence was actually coming from her, that a lot of it was a setup. I read a lot of that stuff. I think it was like Rolling Stone that did a big piece on it. But what are the more recent facts that have come to light, just so I can be totally apprised?
I mean, I think that's pretty much it. It's just that she was also involved in like domestic abuse, that it seemed to all be like this giant conspiracy to raise up Amber and tear down Johnny. Yeah, he's making it seem like it's just some giant conspiracy theory. And that's not to say that, you know, she's 100% not at fault or he's 100% at fault. I don't know. I'm really invested in this lawsuit because I myself have been very, very vocal about my opposition to Johnny Depp in this series, as many, many people have been. Mm-hmm. So I'm interested to see how this pans out, but I have to agree with, you know, everything that Terrence said. Warner Brothers is like, they're drowning, and we're seeing that in many different ways. One being the fact that they've pushed production for the third Fantastic Beasts film. 2, Joe is rewriting the script, and now 3, they're reconsidering Johnny Depp. If you have a crappy movie, I think you can still sell it, but it makes it even harder if your lead star is attached to the Me Too movement. You can't do that, you know? I don't know. Joe really, I think, painted WB in a corner, and I mean, they're starting to see the repercussions of that, and I'm really hoping that this isn't what tanks the Fantastic Beasts franchise, but unless they do something, it's going down pretty fast.
Do we think that, so we've talked a lot about the sales for Crimes of Grindelwald, and just, you know, plot wise, a lot of people's frustrations. I had actually never thought about the impact of Johnny Depp and the Me Too movement on people actually going out to see the film. There's probably a lot out there that I haven't read, but, you know, I don't know if anyone's read up on that or the commentary on that, because that's actually a really fascinating point that you make, Tylor.
I mean, everything I know about it is pretty anecdotal. Like, I know people who chose not to go or chose to like go and also donate the ticket costs to a local charity, something like that. It's negligible, I would say. And I talked about this before the movie came out. I just don't think there are enough people who would do that it would affect sales at all. I think the things that affect the sales are the quality of the movie, the fact that no one's that invested in the franchise, maybe the fact that people are sick of seeing Johnny Depp. Like, for me, yeah, I don't like the bad things and the Me Too part of it. I also don't like him. I don't want to see him in a villain role anymore, and I don't want to see him in our series, and I didn't want to see Americans. It's a whole thing, except playing Americans. But so I think that the protests, I don't think that I wouldn't say that made a big dent.
Right. I mean, I'm going to have to echo that. If anybody wants to argue that, take a look at the Pirates of the Caribbean film. The last one that came out, right? I had no trouble at the box office whatsoever, but I do think that Crimes of Grindelwald did deliver. I mean, it was a mediocre film. It was a film that really didn't generate a lot of buzz. I mean, all the way from marketing, they were marketing it with major influencers on social media, which really didn't pan out the way that they wanted it to. And the most important thing that people have to remember about Fantastic Beasts is it's not Harry Potter. You know, it's not going to have that same repeat success that Harry Potter had.
I do want to give a shout out to, there's a nonprofit that had its start in the YouTube movement or in the YouTube community and in the Harry Potter community, called Uplift. They are an amazing online organization that works to fight against sexual violence in online fandom and communities. And they had an entire campaign based around Johnny Depp in the Fantastic Beasts film series, and it was called hashtag No Magic in Abuse. It was really well received, and they really shared a lot of stories, kind of anecdotal, of course, but stories of people who were saying, I'm not going because of this reason, I'm not going because of Johnny Depp. And that's something that I thought was really, really cool. Sorry, I had another point there. I'll come back to it.
I think it's all really fascinating. I can, so my husband and I are both lawyers, and we both comment on this stuff. It makes us sound like really boring people. But we were talking about this suit, and we were talking about the way Johnny Depp brought it. He brought it as a civil suit. He brought it as a civil defamation suit when the allegations arose out of a criminal investigation. And just as like a basic standard that a lot of people know, when you're looking in the criminal arena, your level of evidence, the burden of proof is a lot higher than in the civil arena. And so we were kind of commenting on the strength of the evidence that maybe Johnny Depp had, or maybe the strength of the support behind him in choosing to maybe go a civil route versus not having the backing of criminal investigation and whatnot. That said, I do believe in due process, whether it be civil or criminal. I'll be interested to see how the evidence pans out, or if this does result in some type of settlement, if this does, some type of PR display on Johnny Depp's behalf, because he does have, the economic ability to spend gobs of money in a legal sense to repair his image. Most people don't. There's a lot of speculation to be had here, but I do sympathize, and I do stand by the female execs of WB and saying, we took this far. We kind of rode the ship through Crimes at Grindelwald, and here we are now, and this isn't looking good. And, I will wait, for the courts or the lawyers to do their job, is what I always do in these scenarios. But, I do think there's legitimacy to their concerns.
We had talked about this, this next point I'm going to bring up. We had talked about it on a previous episode that both of you weren't on, and I would really love to get your thoughts on it. So Kevin Tsujihara's out. A new CEO has not been appointed yet, at least not to my knowledge. What I'm trying to get at is the studio going to put their foot down on J.K. Rowling and force her to either fix what is wrong with the franchise, or they're going to cut her loose, which they absolutely have the power to be able to do since they do retain all creative rights to it. Are they going to, just do it themselves? So, we can do it better.
I really think that this new CEO, whoever they are, they're going to come in, they're going to look at the franchise. And like you said earlier, Terrence, Warner Brothers hasn't put out anything good in so long, and they really hold the Wizarding World franchise so deeply because of that. And I think the new CEO is going to see that. They're going to, of course, try and broaden the studio, but I don't know if they can put too many restrictions on Joe. I mean, they'll be able to, hey, we would like, something a little more succinct, or we're going to hire somebody to help you write this. But, what I think is going to be super important, in something that I've spoken to a bunch of people who have marketed the Crimes of Grindelwald at Warner Brothers, they've shared with me their marketing guidelines. And the fact that Johnny Depp, before the DVD release, was not allowed to have his face shown on any promotional materials. That was the big one. The fact that no audio clips were allowed to be used for him in the teaser and lead up to the trailer release. All of these huge things that are just obviously, if you're putting these guidelines together for your marketing teams, what the problem is. Why are you not doing this? And I'm really hoping the new CEO will be able to, crack that into shape and fix that.
It just makes me wonder why Joe even released that statement. If someone said, you have to say something about it, and she was like, well, everyone's telling me that it's okay, so I'm going with that statement. That's the statement I'm being told to make, so that's what I'm going to make. Because now it makes her look bad. It makes everyone look bad. I just think that it was a mistake to make any statement at all, and I almost feel like she was forced to then.
Now, I mean, this is probably an obvious question, but is she an advocate for the Me Too movement? Has she posted, have we ever seen her post anything about it?
That is such a good question. Like,
That is a good question.
My knee-jerk reaction when you asked that was yes.
Yeah.
But then I'm like, wait, have I seen anything?
I'm gonna look.
I don't think I've seen anything directly like linked to the hashtag Me Too movement. Have I seen comments that generally reflect the sentiments of the Me Too movement? Yes, I have.
Then why put out the statement about that? That's the next obvious answer. I mean, question.
And so, and that makes me wonder, to Gretchen's point, was someone in the exec team like, you gotta save this. You are, the beacon of light, God in the fandom. So if you say something, maybe you salvage the rest of the series. But in my like perfect image, Jo is my hero depiction of who she is. I struggle to think that someone handed her that statement and said, make it. I think she had an opinion, had a conviction, had a personal relationship possibly like with Johnny Depp or, someone associated with him that made her more inclined to believe that maybe this wasn't in fact what Amber Heard had said it was. I don't know what formed her statement, but I'm struggling to think that someone asked her to make that statement. And maybe I'm a dissenting opinion here, but I just don't see her as a parrot.
Oh, no, definitely not. I think that statement is 100% from her, which I think is what stresses me out more, is that somebody didn't just say, hey, read this. They were like, okay, here's what's happening. And I think a lot of the evidence that he's bringing to light right now, I'm pretty sure that's what they showed the creators. That's what they showed Jo, because in Jo's statement, she says that we've seen the evidence, we've seen, all this stuff that made us feel more comfortable. And to kind of what you were saying, Alex, I know so many people personally who were totally against him at first, and then Jo made the statement and they flopped like that. Complete 180 because of Jo specifically, because so many people still take her word as law, and it's like, hold on, those of us like we're starting to like see some flaws. She's not as like perfect in our head as like we remember. We're like, well, hold on, wait, no.
Gretchers, anything about any postings? Were you able to find anything?
No, she posts so much political stuff. Almost everything that she tweets about is politics. So I didn't see anything.
Okay. Well, keep an eye out for it. We'll update everybody. Of course, like Tyler said, our knee-jerk reactions are yes, she's posted about it, or she's used the hashtag at one point or another. I'm just genuinely curious if she has ever come out with that, and then if so, what is her decision for justifying standing by Johnny Depp? I don't know. So. Anyway, wow, great discussion, guys. I love it.
Yeah, let's move on to something a little bit lighter. So the Wizards Unite beta has launched in New Zealand. New Zealanders learned on April 16th that they would be getting the first beta for Wizards Unite. The game is available for download in both the App Store and Google Play. And while New Zealand players were warned the product may be buggy and unstable at times, they're being encouraged to provide feedback that will help improve future versions. Niantic also made clear that the overall appearance and design of the game were not final and that all features and available languages are not yet available. Wizards Unite Hub says early talk among those who've already begun playing indicates that styles corresponding to the 4 Hogwarts houses will be available for players' avatars. The game's map is very similar to that of Pokemon Go, and players are issued Ministry of Magic badges and are able to cast spells by tracing their fingers over the screens. Sounds pretty dope. What do you guys think?
Okay, I'm just into the badges. I don't know why, but you said the Ministry of Magic badges, and all of a sudden I just was like, whoa, that's so cool. I am going to make a very guilty confession here that I have never played Pokemon Go.
I haven't either.
Everyone, oh, cool. Okay, so I'm not alone.
Wait, what?
No.
None of us.
Nope.
Oh my
I know
God.
a lot about it in researching for Wizards Unite.
You guys have a lot of homework to do,
I
I
know
don't know anything about Pokemon.
It's okay, neither do I. I mean, that's fine, but playing it, like being out and about, like in my neighborhood and walking down the street. And then all of a sudden I'm looking on my phone and, oh my God, there's this Pokemon like sitting on the sidewalk or on the mailbox or on top of this car.
Well, that will be cool with Wizards Unite. And I will learn that then.
Okay.
I'm a little afraid of this only because when Pokemon Go came out, I was a research clerk for judges, and where I used to sit, they would bring back jury members and whatever. And it was right in like the height of it, and people would find Pokemon in my office all the time. But there are like strict rules about people who work for judges interacting with jurors, and so they'd run into my office and they'd be like, "Oh my God, you've got so and so in your office." I'm like, "Ma'am, I know this is so exciting, but you have to get out of my office right now." She's like, "Hold on, I'm going to throw one Pokeball and it's going to be okay."
Oh my God.
And so I can imagine, like, especially like I work with teenagers now, and they're all into Pokemon Go. I can imagine the mischief that is going to happen. So I have like a general like concept of like the map and the little avatar and throw in the dang Pokeball. But that's the only really concept I have when you say it's going to be like the Pokemon Go map. I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting.
So to be fair, Niantic has learned a lot about privacy and areas where they can and cannot insert these creatures. So they've done a lot of good work in kind of curbing that. So they're not, the Pokemon are no longer in inappropriate places, like in somebody's backyard or anything like that, like rare ones, yeah, exactly. Graveyards was a big one. People, walking in graveyards in the middle of the night trying to catch these Pokemon, these rare Pokemon. So now instead they have these hunts or something where they place these rare ones in certain areas of the city and invite people to go and just congregate at these areas just to catch them. That's my understanding, at least.
Yeah, and I'm not surprised about the map being the same as the Pokemon Go one, just because Pokemon Go followed Ingress, the first game from Niantic. So I've heard it's just the skinning is different between the three. So I'm not surprised, but it's good to know. And that's something that a lot of people were recommending. If you wanted to get ahead for Wizards Unite, they were like, play Pokemon Go now so you know where the general stops are, where, beasts are going to pop up, etc.
But I really like that these games are teaching people to be active, to actually walk outside, to go to their local parks, to go to their libraries. You have to walk a certain amount of distance to hatch this egg. And it encourages people because there's the goal, there's the incentive for them to be able to walk half a mile. So I'm really excited to see what Wizards Unite is going to do. I don't think it's going to be as big, and I know that's like that's a complete 180 from what I said like a couple of weeks ago. Like it was going to be massive. Yes, it's going to be massive, but I don't think it's going to be like Pokemon Go. I think Pokemon Go was like the most viral thing ever.
It was huge.
Yeah, so maybe you'll have, people in their robes with their friends walking out and with their wands and their phones and trying to, catch whatever it is they have to catch or do whatever it is they have to do.
I just like that you can trace the spells on the screen because I was really into the Harry Potter PC games and you would like trace the spell and that was part of it. Or like even with the what was that thing? I used to have that. It was white and it had the wand. What was that gaming system?
The Wii.
Yes, thank you. I used to have the Wii. And with the Wii, I was like, we have to get the Harry Potter game because the Wii wand is like a wand and then you draw the spell. So I'm pretty stoked about that.
From what I understand, the Warner Brothers is trying to systematically ingrain the spell shapes based on the ones that have been released at Universal Studios, and they're doing that across the board. So I would be very, very surprised if the shapes that you're going to be like doing are not the ones that we have already seen at Universal Studios.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That'll be awesome. You know what's going to be even more awesome later on down the line is whenever they start adding accessories for this game, like a Bluetooth wand. Oh my God.
Yes. I was just thinking that it's not going to be as big as Pokemon Go. I know that. But I think Harry Potter fans are going to spend more than your average Pokemon Go consumer. Like, I would get a Bluetooth wand. I would get some kind of like pocket watch that's like vibrates when there's like a beast nearby. I would get everything. I'm not even
That's
kidding.
a great idea.
Your pop vinyl lights up whenever there's a beast around.
Ew.
Yes,
Oh my goodness.
man.
A lot of good stuff to come, definitely.
Mm.
Nice shirt, Gretchers.
Oh, thanks. It's so comfortable.
Ooh. Oh,
It's really
it doesn't say the swish and click at the
No,
bottom.
they got rid of that.
Wow, okay. It's
Yeah,
news
This
to me.
episode brought to you by MuggleNet.
This episode.
I love MuggleNet.
All right. Our next bit of news is not quite as happy. This is a weird one. This is from probably 2 weeks ago at this point. So priests in Poland ended up burning Harry Potter books, but they apologized. So they encouraged their churchgoers to bring in items to burn. The flames consumed an African wooden mask, a small Buddhist figure, figurines of elephants, books on personality and magic, and children's novels from J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter series. The priest later apologized. If anyone took my action this way, meaning like condemning the authors or people who like those things, I would like to apologize, he wrote, adding that he had removed the photos of the burning. Quote, so that it does not generate more emotions. I'm very sorry once again. The priests were charged a fine by the city. So it sounds like they told their congregants, bring in things that scare you or that you don't like or that cause you distress, and then we'll burn them. And they were like, what could go wrong?
What? This is completely stupid. Like, what? Okay. So why do people burn books anyway? I mean, it's ludicrous to think that burning a book or burning an object suddenly destroys the idea behind that. And instead, in many cases, as we've seen in the past, it really acts as a catalyst. It has the opposite effect.
It literally never works out. And I love the idea. Like, I love the concept behind it because I'm a big old hippie. Like, I love the thought of, like, kill your demons, like, get that bad juju away from you. But, like, don't physically burn things, especially not if you are a person in a religious position of power. Do not encourage people to bring things in to burn, especially when you're calling out other religions like Buddhism and people who like Harry Potter. You're doing it wrong.
Mm-hmm. Preach.
All I can see now is Alex and Gretchen in that Friends episode where they're burning the objects from boyfriends in the past to kind of clear the air, like break the spell of the dry spell that they had or something like that.
Yeah, the wind stealers. They're stealing their wind.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
You should only burn things if they're Horcruxes.
I love, Gretchen, your description of, I mean, I'm a total hippie, so I'm so into this. I just died. What's interesting though? I 100% agree with you, Gretchen. But then I also think about pieces of literature or icons or whatever you might associate with like your deepest seated hatred. And while you're not really giving the world any more positive power, or you're not really giving, I don't know, any credence to what you're doing, you're kind of giving yourself like this personal affirmation or vindication of like, yes, this is awful and you are going to burn in my presence. And I just went to a dark place. But because I think about, like, let's go real extreme for a second. I think about Mein Kampf and the hatred I have for that. And am I going to do the world anything better? No. Am I going to like shift the paradigm of anti-Semitism by burning one copy? No. Do I get some angry personal self-satisfaction? Possibly. And that is not for me to say that I agree at all with what these priests did. I'm always very animated when we're on our podcast, but I don't know if anyone saw when Gretchen had noted that they were asked to pay a fine. I think my mouth literally hit the floor. I was like, that was it? Seriously, that was all that they were asked to do? That is insulting. Like, that just slap in the face. But I don't know. I'm also like devil's advocate for a living, so this is just the way my brain works all the time. But yeah, I don't know. I invite anyone to also play the deviler's advocate to that point, but I guess I could see the personal satisfaction if your hatred was that deeply rooted. But I was actually having a conversation with a colleague of mine today about the religious position on Harry Potter because he knows I love Harry Potter so much, and he was talking with a young client who was like, "Oh, I can't read Harry Potter. It's not true," coming from a religiously motivated position, and he goes, "Yeah, it's fiction. It's not true. It's imagination. It's magic. Awesome. Wow." And then just like kept moving on with the conversation. And so it's also one of those things where it's like it is a deep-seated hatred over something that should be magical and inspiring. So that's my teeter back and forth on the morality of this position.
No, I get that. Like in Satanism, there's something that we do called deconstruction rituals, where you take something that has like bad meanings or something associated with it, and you destroy it. And it's cathartic. It's it's meant to be symbolic. You're, like you said, you're not going to like shift these paradigms, but yeah, I can see why these people do it. It sucks because there's just an inherent misunderstanding of the source, but I see your flip-flop inside as well.
All right, let's move on to happier news. So, photos of this Harry Potter wedding make it look like it was held at Hogwarts. It's absolutely gorgeous. Anna and Russell tied the knot at the Green Building in the, I'm going to mispronounce this, I'm sorry, Brooklynites, the Gowanus neighborhood of Brooklyn. Anna said it was very difficult to find classy pre-made Harry Potter party supplies. So, she and Russell, who both have backgrounds in theater and set design, decided to make most of their wedding decorations from scratch. She also set out to strike a balance between making their wedding theme too overdone and too subtle. Quote, "I didn't want it to look like a children's birthday party, but I also didn't want it to look like including the Harry Potter-esque touches were an afterthought." Their guests also showed up in cosplay. So they created these absolutely gorgeous wedding decorations in this beautiful, beautiful venue and did this supremely awesome Harry Potter wedding. What did you guys think about this?
It's so cute. I'm super bummed because my girlfriend has said that if I ever propose to her in any Harry Potter way, or if we have anything Harry Potter at the wedding, she will say no.
Bye, Felicia.
So I have to live vicariously through these people.
Wow.
Oh, I'm so sad.
She just knows that I would take it like to the nth degree.
You would go far. You would go.
Yeah, it's my fault.
Well,
I ruined Harry Potter for her.
Could you at least like wear a Harry Potter shirt under your tuxedo or
like
something?
Snitch cufflinks.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I could do something like that. She said like my groomsman's cake could be like something Harry Potter, and I'm sure I could get away with like some kind of Harry Potter like Deathly Hallows lapel or something. But yeah, these photos are beautiful and super super cool.
You could always sneak in for the greater good as you're shaking hands with people. For the greater good.
In my vows,
for the greater
magic
good.
blooms only in rare souls, like these two we're about to wed today.
That's so good.
The pictures were absolutely stunning. And as someone who got married like 6-7 months ago, we had this conversation because I am a huge Harry Potter fan. My husband loves Harry Potter too. And so we were actually thinking about doing like snitch cake pops instead of doing like a traditional cake. But then we ended up getting married in a tiny restaurant with like 30 people, and it was wonderful.
Aw.
To your point, Tyler, though, so it was kind of the opposite in my situation. My husband knew he kind of had to propose in some type of Harry Potter way. So shout out to my friend John Perilla and his woodworking company, Perilla Works. One of his best-selling items is the box that my husband designed for my engagement ring, which is the shape of the Deathly Hallows. And it's like a purple wood, and it's got like this marble inlay, and it's gorgeous. And then it has like a quote on the back. And he does a lot of other Harry Potter designs. And so he did it just for us, and he posted it on his website. And he says it is literally the best-selling item he has. Like, he sells so many Deathly Hallows engagement boxes. It's absurd.
Wow.
So, subtle touches like that. But I do hear the bride's comments, though, about the balance, right? You don't want it to look like a child's 7th birthday party. But you also don't want it to be like an afterthought of just like, oh, here are golden snitch cake pops. This is what drives people crazy. This is what is the genesis of Bridezillas. And so I just want to know like what her level of sanity was like and what her level of patience was like. Because at the end of the day, we only had like 30 people at our wedding, and there were moments where I was like, cool, I'm being a Bridezilla. Let's tone this down just a little bit. So like doing these and having a background in theater and scenic design, oh, bless you. You guys are my favorite people. But just to take it to that nth degree, like, oh, I would love to be a fly on the wall during that planning process.
Probably my favorite part of going through these pictures was being able to see their guests dress up in cosplay, and that's creating something special. Is whenever you include your guests in that level of the, intimateness of the whole event. I think that was just so wonderful.
I just have to say that I found the pictures of Alex's engagement box. Like, literally, it's yours. I don't know if this is your ring. It's got like a green stone. That is your ring. It's gorgeous. So
Cute.
this is absolutely beautiful. And I'm like gonna cry. This is so cool. Look how cute that is.
Oh, damn. That is really pretty.
That is gorgeous.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Look at it.
Oh, wow.
Look at it.
What a rock, huh?
I love it. I love everything about it. And while we're on the subject, actually, Tessa Netting, she just got engaged, and she posted her ring, and it's like this custom, insane like thing designed. It's got like Deathly Hallows. It looks like a snitch. It's like ludicrous, and like that's how you do it. If you're a Harry Potter fan, you go big. You got to do it.
Go big or go to Hogwarts.
So Tylor, maybe your compromise is that you find like a really awesome band, and then you like put your inscription, like your favorite love related Harry Potter inscription, in your band.
I open at
I
the
would love that.
close.
What'd you say?
I open at the close.
Oh. Also, can we just talk about people who use always in their weddings and how creepy that is? Like, I've seen so many engagement and like wedding rings with always inscribed, and I'm just like,
It is creepy. It's extremely
ew.
creepy. It's wrong. That's like classic though. Like when people say, what's that quote from Shakespeare, from Hamlet, where people say like neither borrower nor lender be, and I'm like, that's entirely out of context. It's not what Shakespeare was saying, but it's fine. Like that's a classic. Like, guys, remember Snape? Remember him? Remember when he said always? It was super creepy. You
It's
forgot.
super gross. You don't care
forgot.
though. It's on
Okay.
your wedding ring.
It's fine. No, it's cool. It's okay.
Just gonna obliviate myself of that one,
So keep it classy, kids. That's the moral of this story. Congrats to Anna and Russell.
Yeah,
Well done.
congratulations. Here, here.
Another set of congratulations is in order. The Guinness World Records has been announced, and this UK fan has the world's largest Wizarding World collection. Victoria McLean, she has the largest collection with a staggering 3,686 pieces in her home. She said it took her 18 years to collect since she was 21 years old. Her collection includes 26 pop vinyls, 6 snow globes, 115 Harry Potter and Fantastic Beasts pin badges, 34 wands, 302 Fantastic Beasts and Harry Potter postcards, and 114 Harry Potter books. This is the coolest.
Wow. This is insane amount of, 34 wands. Holy cow. That's crazy. But it's amazing. So yeah, definitely congratulations to
I wonder how we're counting pieces, because when Gretchen said pieces of like collector's items, I was like, whoa, I have a massive Harry Potter castle sitting, Lego castle that is 6,000 pieces. Does that count? And I was like, Alex, don't be a jerk. My second thought was that is amazing. That is impressive. But that is also like, where do you keep all that? I have what, 3 wands? Because I get them when I go to Universal. And they're like, they have their little home or shelf with like the 10 different versions of Harry Potter that I have, because we all do. And I was thinking the other day, and I was like, man, if they release like another anniversary edition, like we're going to have to branch out to a new shelf. So I just, hats off to her, not only for the time, the dedication, the investment, but also like the space.
Yeah.
Wow. I just would like to know, like, does she have a storage unit? Because I feel like you would have to at that point.
I have 2 friends who have both gone through the Guinness World Record for the most Harry Potter collection. My friends Katie and Steve, and I've heard about the process for like getting it all validated. It's by piece. It has to be officially licensed. It cannot be fan recreations, any of that stuff. They have to go in, catalog, take photos of every single one. It's a process. It's a process.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of stuff. It's a lot of stuff.
Those are very dedicated, very passionate individuals, I would say. So my hat's off to them. I mean, I'm looking at my like pop vinyls on my desk, and I'm getting a little overwhelmed right now with like 20 of them.
Mm-hmm. And I do want to say though, when it comes to these collections and stuff like that, I don't like sometimes when they're, I'm sure she's a wonderful human, but as with most media, we get clickbaity titles, and it's like, this person is the biggest Harry Potter fan because of their collection. And that has always rubbed me the wrong way. Just when you think about materialism and capitalism and how it, is feeding like this. No. You cannot be, and I've always said this, you cannot be the biggest fan of Harry Potter. You cannot be the biggest fan of anything, because it has touched all of us in so many different ways. Sure, you can have, the most books, or you can have the most merchandise, or you can, know all the fast facts, all that. But there's something so inherent that we've all been touched by that you can't quantify that. I don't know. It's my little side tangent, but we always get these clickbaity titles, and it always just kind of, grinds my gears just a smidge.
No, that really makes sense. And I am going to agree with you 100% on that. Does rub me the wrong way just a bit as well.
Absolutely preach. Preach to the choir, buddy.
So our last bit of news, they announced a few creatures that will appear on the new Hagrid's Magical Creatures motorbike adventure ride. I'm never going to get over it. Never. So the creatures that will appear. Okay, keep in mind, I broke this news from Uncle Ned. I received this semi-exclusive story. So every day I was told a new creature, and I wrote the article. So day 1, they tell me Fluffy, fine. Day 2, Cornish Pixies, cool, great, cute. Day 3, Devil's Snare. No, not
Don't think so.
Not Creature Universal, but it's
Preach.
fine. It's cool.
Nope.
You tried. Day 4 was Centaurs, and day 5 was Blast-Ended Scroots, which are appearing for the first time. They were not in the films, and they will appear on the Hagrid ride. So, Tyler, let's start with you. Opinions on these 4 creatures plus 1 plant.
I have my reservations as it is when it comes to the division between herbology and care of magical creatures. What is a mandrake? Are they sentient? If so, why are we studying them in herbology and not in care of magical creatures? I'm getting flustered just thinking about it. The fact that the Blair partnership and J.K. Rowling was like, yeah, sure, you can say that this devil snare is a magical creature is stressing me out. Where does it end? Where's the venomous tentacula? What about all of these things that I'm just like, no. That's
No. Well,
not
what's
right.
funniest is they posted their blog post and they were like, today's creature, well, it's not a creature, but we just couldn't help ourselves. I'm like, no, you had plenty of creatures to choose from. There's got to be more creatures on the ride. You only had to pick 5. You
It
only
is
had to pick
confirmed.
5.
It is confirmed that there are unicorns on this ride. No announcement. We went with Devil Snare, and I'm just like, I get it, because I think the Devil Snare, we've all seen the plans of how this ride is going to go. We know that the Devil Snare is going to play a huge part in one of the sections. Great, cool. But I'm just like, don't muddy that line any more than it already is, fam. Okay? But everybody else, I'm excited. The last time I was on Hogwarts Radio, I was excited to, speculate about the Blast Ended Scroots. Super glad that it is actually coming true. They look exactly how I remember myself thinking about them when I was a kid. I know that's a controversial opinion, but I think they look perfect, and I'm very excited to see them IRL.
That was wonderful. I just, as a participant, just watching the two of you, and then Terrence in the background doing the fist pump as Tylor is rolling. Oh man, that was fantastic. Yeah. Okay. 2 thoughts. 1, yes, we have confirmed the existence of unicorns and the existence of unicorns in this universe and this ride. Why we wouldn't lead with that, I don't know, because that is fantastic and amazeballs, in my opinion. Part of me is also thinking, are unicorns overplayed? And it's like, oh, are we going for the basic thing of unicorns when every 8-year-old wants a unicorn cake for the unicorn birthday party? I hear them on that. But I do agree with you. Devil Snare, seriously? And even if you're thinking about the books and like canonically, like Devil Snare and Hagrid have no relationship whatsoever. So it's even like if you're going to dip into the herbology world, no. There's what about mandrakes? They have a somewhat more affiliated relationship with Hagrid because Hagrid played somewhat of a pivotal plot point in Chamber of Secrets, and mandrakes were the ultimate cure to the petrified. Like, okay, maybe I can go down that logical train, but like, oh, man, that was just a bonehead move. Is this one of those moments where they're like, well, guys, we messed up, but we've gone too far. So let's all just put on our pants and just commit, because that's all we have right now. It's the basic rule of improv. Yes, and we are committing and we are moving forward, and all the rest of us are like, we would be totally okay if you admitted your mistake.
Yeah, seriously, why didn't they just lead with the Blast Ended Scroots? I mean, that's the number one thing that, I mean, we've seen everything else, right? We've seen the plants, we've seen the centaurs, but we've never seen what a Blasted Ended Scroot looks like. And I have to say, I don't know if I'm kind of conflicted. I don't know if I'm impressed or scared or a little excited. I don't. It's hard for me to process that because that's not what a Blasted Ended Scroot looked like to me in my mind. I'm like, oh, okay, well, I'm being exposed to this for the first time. It looks like a half scorpion, half like, I don't know, smiley face emoticon or something. To me, it's just like, why didn't they lead with that instead?
It was the final day's reveal.
But see,
they have Devil Snare first.
But see, then whenever they get to the Devil Snare, people will be like, well, it's okay because we got Blast Ended Scroots. I mean, you led with Fluffy, and then Cornish Pixies, sure, Cornish Pixies, and then you get to something
cute.
like,
I think they're cute.
Yeah, I mean, and then you get to Devil Snare, and you're like, well, this is kind of anticlimactic, and then at the end of there, like, oh yeah, by the way, Blast Ended Scroots. And you're just like,
here you go.
Okay, yeah. So is that it?
I think Cornish Pixies are completely overplayed. I do. I really do.
Overrated, the Pixies. What's disappointing to me about this announcement is they didn't release any additional information with them. They literally just showed a picture and they were like, here's what the Pixies look like. And I'm like, okay, well, at what point in the ride am I going to encounter the Pixies with the Fort Anglia? When am I going to get to the Devil's Snare? When am I going to see the Centaur? Like, I still don't really have a full grasp on what this ride is actually going to be like or where it's going to take you. So that's kind of what I was hoping for. So it is a bit disappointing, but we only have to wait another like month-ish.
Yeah.
For it to open. So
we will have to see what this ride/show entails, because isn't that how they're promoting it? It's like a show ride. It's like an all new amazing experience that you've never experienced before.
Yeah,
kind of
like course. It's a brand new experience that you will never experience again and could never be experienced anywhere else. Come to Universal Orlando. Bye.
That's going to be the tagline. Yeah.
The way that they're like they did the dark arts like light show, and like I'm starting to believe them when they say this is the first of its kind. I'm like, okay, yeah, I believe you, because that light show, wow,
even better than Disney.
I've never been to Disney, but from what I understand, yes, better than Disney.
Hang on, we're going to revisit this in just a second. This whole thing about Tylor never have been to Disney, but give me just a second. Let me catch my breath. Gretchen, is that all the news we have this week?
That's all the news, yes.
Okie doke. Well, let's get to a few announcements. First, we'd like to welcome our newest patrons. And we're only 3 patrons away from our next goal, which is our Chamber of Secrets commentary and our AMA/Google Hangout. With the hosts and the patrons, so that's always usually a lot of fun. Next announcement, into the common room. We're going to be a little bit more consistent with this. Right now, it's just kind of, we post whenever we need bonus content for Patreon. But what we're going to start doing is a new one every month. So you're going to get a new Into the Common Room every month. And we've already posted a few on Patreon already. But now second year and up patrons will have access to the monthly postings for Into the Common Room. And Into the Common Room includes a lot of additional content, such as bloopers or the fun that we have before and after each episode. Stuff that really doesn't make it into the final edit that you guys hear each week. Much as this week, we had a great Into the Common Room, so you guys are going to have to wait until whenever we post the one for May to hear all about it. Moving on to our next announcement, iTunes reviews. Thank you so much to those who have left us a review and a rating on iTunes. Your feedback goes a long way to letting other people know what you think about the podcast. Okay, we're gonna do this next one, and I had a jaw drop moment just a minute ago. Whenever Tylor said he has never been to Disney, but for those of you that don't know, Tylor has a new project. It's called Meeting Walt, and it is a Disney podcast. And you guys officially launched it a couple of weeks ago with episode 0, starting out with a Goofy movie. Episode 1 was about The Lion King, and episode 2 was just released and discussed Peter Pan. We highly recommend that you take a listen. Yeah. So Tylor, tell me, first of all, congratulations on the launch of your new show.
Thank you.
But secondly, you do a Disney podcast. You've never been to Disneyland or World at all.
I have been to Disneyland. I haven't been to Disney World. But when I went to Disneyland, it was for like 2 hours, and I was so grumpy that I didn't appreciate any of it. It was completely lost on me. It was not fun. Now that I have Meeting Walt, I'm learning so much about Disney, and I'm actually really excited to get to go, but it's always tough. I always said as a kid I would never go to Disney until Wizarding World was open. And then when Wizarding World was open, I was like, okay, I'm not a Disney fan. I don't know why I would ever go to Disney. I'm just going to go to Wizarding World. And so I did many, many times every year. So yeah, I'm hoping to go eventually.
Well then, You are in for a treat, and I look forward to your online social postings about your experience at Disney because, boy, if you think the Wizarding World's great, I mean, I can't imagine what you're going to think about Disney World or Disneyland whenever you finally go.
I'll let you know.
Our final announcement today is about another project from a former host of the show. And we still get emails asking about Grayson and Mary. And, I'm going to try to talk him to coming back for an episode. I know they have a lot going on right now with their little one who's about to turn 1. And it's so amazing that those two met because of the show. They got married, and then they're starting their lives together. So Grayson's project is called Another Dimension Comic, and it's an up-and-coming comic book about a teenage Bigfoot, a jackalope, and Loch Ness Monster who battle high school in another dimension. It's hilarious. We invite you to go check them out. Give them a follow on social media. Just search up Another Dimension Comic. And give them a couple of likes on their recent posts as well, because the stuff that they're posting right now is funny. It's good content, and I could see this becoming like a Netflix series one day. I've already had that vision in my mind. So again, it's called Another Dimension Comic. Please check that out. All right, let's move on to a couple of discussion questions for this week's episode. A couple of shower thoughts, really. That's what these are. thoughts that we had while in the shower.
Prefix bath thoughts.
Yeah, bath thoughts. There we go. Bath time thoughts. As I'm sitting in the shower, contemplating life, I wanted to know, and I was kind of curious what the panel thinks about this one. Which spell would be your go-to spell if you had to duel somebody? And no unforgivable curses, please. So let's go ahead and
How dare you limit me like that?
Yeah, I know. Sorry. Let's go ahead and kick it off with Gretcher's.
Mine would be Sactum Sempra because it's proven to work and it's not unforgivable.
This is okay. So we want to duel. We don't want to kill. We don't want to maim or injure. Well, maybe injure, but, we still don't know what Sectum Sempra does to the body. I mean, we know that it creates, all these stab wounds and, blood pours out everywhere, which is a horrible, horrible spell.
PG-13, yeah. Pretty hardcore of me, I know.
Yeah. All right, well, I'm not dueling Gretchen, so...
Yeah, what's the purpose of the duel? Because in my head... I'm always thinking when people duel, it is to kill the other person. Is it to capture them?
Well, okay, so it depends on the situation. Okay, so in Hogwarts we're taught, dueling club, disarm your opponent, whatever.
Right.
But in real life, in the Wizarding World life, we learn about the duel between Grindelwald and Dumbledore, and then we learn about the duel between Voldemort and Dumbledore. And I don't think they're going for disarming there. I really think they're going for killing each other. So It's kind of a mixed bag. I don't know if the purpose is you're just supposed to kill somebody.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, for me, if I don't want to be lame and just say Protego for defensive stuff, also on brand. But for defensive stuff, saying Protego, to protect yourself, I would probably have to say Bombarda. I don't think that's book canon, but if I'm gonna go with it, because I love explosions, I would do it just to distract people. Bombarda this, Bombarda that, maybe Bombarda you. Your whole body explodes. I don't know. That's where I'm thinking.
Wow. Okay. This turned really dark really quick. I didn't expect this. Alex, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah. Wow, guys. So I thought about this, and kind of being ironically, I don't like confrontation. I don't like fighting. I know I do it for a living, but I hate it in my personal life. I would actually go for and I would have to work very hard to perfect the accuracy of this spell and making sure I could nail it 100% of the time. But I would just go for a basic Petrificus Totalis, just stun my opponent and just walk away. That is the total pacifist. I don't want to deal with you. I'm just going to put you out of your angry misery and just walk away and move on with my life. Yeah. That is my dueling strategy.
Yeah, I'm gonna petrify you so you just slowly waste away. That's
starve
great.
to death.
Yeah,
dehydrate. It must wear off.
Someone's gonna find them. That's my whole theory. Okay, and maybe I'll go back.
They drown.
I'll go back and I'll just be like, "Have you learned your lesson? Yes. Okay, we can talk about this." I'm not just gonna leave them there. I also sound like the mother of a teenager because
that sounds worse. That sounds awful.
I know. And can we talk about this like mature adults, like mature wizards? Yes. Okay.
If I was petrified and you were like, "Okay, we're gonna talk," I'd be like, "All right, can you just kill me now? Like, let's just get this over with."
I'm gonna have to choose Expelliarmus because I know it's so generic, but whenever you disarm your opponent, they're not as threatening. You know, they can't cast a spell without their wand. Well, maybe they can. I don't know. I really need to rethink this one.
Wandless magic. That wandless magic.
Well, yeah. I get that, but I mean, I always think of wandless magic as like magic by extension. Like it's kind of like your own personal Bluetooth connection to your wand. As long as you know where your wand is, and if it's like in the vicinity, you can still call upon its power to be able to do whatever it is that you want. That you want to do, like casting a spell or something.
Unless you're Native American. In the Pottermore history of magic in North America, they said that Native American people or people native to Americas were skilled in wandless magic, and that European wizards were the ones that introduced wands to them. This is one of the critiques of the whole magic in North America thing is, of course the European people teaching these, other people how to do proper magic, and it's like, no, they were fine, but they were skilled in wandless magic.
Oh wow, okay. So Expelliarmus wouldn't really work on anybody in that case. So I would be dead. So yeah. All right. Well, that closes that question out. Okay. Speaking of that point in history and wandless magic, how did witches save themselves when burning at the stake without a wand? And I'm referring to kind of like the infamous Salem witch trials in America. What do you guys think?
That's tough and scary. I have to imagine that there would be some kind of like wandless magic.
Yeah, couldn't they do something before then? Like, when is there? How do you know that? Several questions. One, how do you know they don't have a wand? Number two, even if they had a wand before, they could cast an ice spell. I don't know terms for things, but I'm sure there's a spell that turns your body to ice, and then you're flame proof. And you just cast it before you go up on the pyre.
Okay, but what about the people that are charred? Like,
what?
I mean, I imagine that the people that this was a big, event that the town came out to see, the burning of the witches, right? And they
literally explained this. They literally said what I'm saying. They cast a spell on them, and then they did it tickled or whatever.
Right. Well, that's what I was going to ask. Is because like you can't preemptively cast like a tickling charm on fire if it doesn't exist yet, right? So like you're tied up, and then they light the fire.
Right.
But then how do you cast?
Yeah. How do you preemptively do that, or how do you do that like right then and there?
You've got the like covert magic. Your wand's up your sleeve, and then it slides down into your hand, and then you cast your spell kind of subtly.
Or you have someone in the audience looking out for you who casts it for you.
Community.
Yes,
Mm-hmm.
that's
Mhm.
good.
So I was also thinking about, to Gretchen's point, like the preemptive work, whether it be like some type of defensive protective mechanism. Also bear in mind that witches weren't just burned. If I remember correctly, they would drown them, and then if they weren't witches, they would float. So I imagine there's some magic to gillyweed that witches could have. But I was just thinking about the Crucible, which is one of my favorites, and I was thinking about, like, before people were identified as witches, there was so much in the rumor mill, there was so much talk amongst it, that I feel like witches would have had some type of notice to know, yep, I'm up next, let's go, let's get a game plan. And either it's the community, it's the protective mechanisms, there's got to be a lot to it. So I don't know. And witches are probably smarter than the average muggle, so I feel like they fared well.
Well, I feel like at that point, if they were smarter than the average muggle, they should have cast some sort of memory charm whenever the discussion came up about burning witches, and then like immediately that changes the subject to something else. But
Fair.
But I don't know if those particular witches and wizards were skilled in memory charms at all, or if they even knew about memory charms then.
I also think about how, if there are wizards and witches who live, maybe they're the only one in this small remote village, and their village does go through this like Salem witch trial, like kind of burning thing. We know that Sir Nicholas Dimsey Porpington, he was executed because he couldn't separate from his cell because he didn't have his wand. So I imagine, to kind of your point, Terrence, there are some wizards and witches at some point who probably did burn to death or were drowned because maybe they came out of nowhere, they couldn't prepare because their wand was taken away or something like that. And that's super sad and scary to think about.
Yeah, really is. Okay, next question. If J.K. Rowling went back to the source material and wrote another book from another character's point of view in the wizarding world, who would you choose and why? Tyler, who do you got?
I'm tied between, obviously, my boy Lord Voldemort, for sure, and Dumbledore, Albus Dumbledore. I can't believe I have to specify that now. Albus Dumbledore. That would be so cool. I think it would be either sides of those two characters would be so fun to listen to and to read. Just Dumbledore with his planning and his manipulative like chess game that he's playing with all these different things, and then also Voldemort as he's in the background, he's searching, he's planning as well. I think that would be really cool.
The Riddle Diaries. Nice.
Yeah.
Nice.
I would read both of those series for sure.
I mean, to be honest, I would read anything from anybody's point of view. So,
Very
Mrs.
true.
Norris.
Mrs. Norris's point of view. The second book is just like, meow, all petrified.
Petrified.
It's 2 chapters long, the before and the after.
Right.
I hate that. That's so sad.
Have you guys seen that Game of Thrones meme where it's Filch going, "You murdered my cat, so I murdered your cat," or something like that? The David Bradley thing where he kills one of the characters.
I've never seen Game of Thrones.
Really?
Yeah.
Missing out. You haven't been to Disney. You haven't seen Game of Thrones. I mean, come on. You got some homework
Harry
to do.
Potter's my life. And that's it.
He has his priorities.
Yeah.
Don't test him.
Anyway, so for me, I would choose Snape because I would love to hear the story from his point of view, and we did get a tiny glimpse of it in Deathly Hallows, but really drilling into him playing double agent and his internal struggles with coming to terms with what he had done, and him finding the Potters dead and just having to live with that. I would like to know, because it seems to me he would have a bit of survivor's guilt. And I would really love to explore, like, the psychological aspect and how he kind of dealt with everything.
I do, Terrence, want to give a shout out to a book I read recently. It's called Snape, A Definitive Reading, and it's by Lori Kim. And I highly recommend it. She goes, each chapter is each book, and she tells the story from Snape's point of view. And, you know, a lot of it is probably her kind of reading into things and taking liberties, but it's still so interesting to think about that double life that he led and the things he had to do and the choices he had to make and how he never really got anything from it. He kind of he really did sacrifice his whole life, and I still think, you know, he's not a good person by any means, but he's a very interesting person, an interesting character, and reading that from JK would be just so awesome.
Yeah definitely. And what was the name of that book again?
Snape, A Definitive Reading.
Is it at like
Lori Kim?
Where's it available? Like at Barnes and Noble or?
It's on Amazon. I think it's at Barnes and Noble.
Okay, I'm gonna have to check that out as well. I remember reading a long time ago a book called The Great Snape Debate before Book 7 came out, and reading all
that
about
takes me
him.
back.
No joke, right? But yeah, interesting character to dive into nonetheless. Alex, who do you have?
So I'm obviously very pro on Albus Dumbledore for all the reasons we have talked about, but I was trying to think of a character who would have enough insight into not only kind of like the periphery of Hogwarts and all of the fun ongoings, but also has enough insight into the core of the plot and the story, who would bring a unique perspective. And the only character that I could really come up with is Professor McGonagall. And I would be super interested because we see glimpses of her and Professor Dumbledore having moral conflict. We see it a lot in Goblet of Fire, and when Dumbledore is willing to let Harry go down that path to reveal what Voldemort is up to, whereas, Professor McGonagall, notes he's just a boy. Why are we doing this to him? Even throughout a lot of later on, when the Order of the Phoenix comes into formation, you hear little snippets of her descent throughout. And so I think she would be a really great insight because she's obviously very close to Dumbledore. She's obviously close to Harry. She's close to the Order, but she's also like rigid and prim and proper Professor McGonagall. So I think her commentary on like Ron and Harry's shenanigans would just be hysterical. But her moral compass is a little different than the die hard, fight hard moral compass that we've had, both from Harry, from Dumbledore, from Sirius Black, from a lot of the characters that we know and love. And I would love to see that fleshed out. I think that would be really fascinating.
You know what would be really cool is if we had a series. I don't know if you guys have seen that movie. It came out like in 2008, 2009 with Matthew Fox. It's called Vantage Point, and it shows like something taking place, a main event taking place at the very beginning, but then it shows all the important characters and all the important pieces and how they got to that one point. And I would really love that from the Harry Potter series, like especially on the main characters, or even the minor characters, like maybe how Dobby got to the point where he got to, or how Bellatrix got to the point she got to, like all those different interesting stories wrapped up in like one anthology. I think that would be an interesting read to see how it all ties together.
Fanfic world, you have been charged. Have fun.
Okay, the last question that I want to talk about today. Oh, I'm so sorry, Gretchen. I thought I picked you.
Classic person I picked. This would always happen to him, so I picked Neville.
Oh God.
It's just perfect.
Why is it always me?
I picked Neville for a few reasons. First, because I think it'd be cool to see the books from his point of view, because he was the other possible chosen one. He was born around the same time to parents who defied Voldemort, and he could have been the chosen one. So to kind of see how he deals with that, I don't think we ever fully got to see that. what it's like to see someone else whose life you kind of could have had. And also because book 7, Harry's not at Hogwarts, but Neville is. And I would love to see the events of book 7 from someone's point of view. And I think Neville really kind of stepped up and took Harry's place in the school. And I'd love to see how that went down and everything that happened while Harry was out camping. I'd love to read that book.
Yeah, that last point was pretty dope. About that's the teenager in me coming out. About him being at Hogwarts in that last year, and all we have are little insights from when Harry comes back, and like kind of what we hear about the Carrows, and we hear about the whole like the total regime change that happens at Hogwarts, but Neville did step up, and to kind of hear his also internal transformation of himself from being, the kid who does get petrified to being the leader, I think would be a really cool story arc. And also, I know everyone else is thinking it, so I'm just going to say it. I also want that story arc because we all know Neville gets real hot in the end.
I totally wasn't thinking about that, but now I can't get shirtless Matthew Lewis out of my head.
I saw Gretchen nodding real hard.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Oh, yeah.
I know. And Tylor. Okay, thank you.
I know.
Everyone's with you.
Yep.
The thing with Neville is I would really like to learn how he deals with the relationship with his parents, and them being in the state that that they're in right now, and what kind of a toll that takes on him, and how that kind of drives him to be the person that he is, because he's not a bad person at all, and he may be. I mean, yeah, it's kind of like attributed to his upbringing from his grandmother, sure, but I really think like he even says that he wants to make his parents proud, and I think that every decision that he makes in the series, he thinks, what would my parents think of me making this decision? And so Neville is the character that we see, in my opinion, grow the most throughout the series, to become this total amazing badass in Deathly Hallows.
I'm getting all weepy over here, Terrence. My God.
I'm getting all these notifications because Tylor and Gretchen are going back and forth on Twitter.
It was so funny. She's like leaning back, like screaming into a microphone.
Yeah, Gretch was getting a little charged there, and I was like,
it was so funny. she's like, this would happen to my favorite.
And I let it go because I'm like, oh, I don't care about this point, but I cared about that point.
All right, so you're going to be called on first from now on, so I don't make that same mistake. I don't like being yelled at, Gretchen. Don't yell at me.
I'm so sorry.
I'm kidding.
Don't forget me.
The last point. Everybody good with that question before I move on? Y'all good?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Perfect.
10 out of 10.
The last one that I want to talk about, we kind of mentioned it on the show before, and I think it was like during one of our holiday discussions, but the Santa Claus. So Santa is a Ministry of Magic wizard who works in some marketing department who has 1,000 house elves making toys, all to make Muggle children believe and trust in magic. What do y'all think?
Okay, I have to point out that you spelled Santa Claus the way that they spell it in the Tim Allen movie, like it's a clause in a contract.
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. But okay, there, I fixed it.
No, I love it. I think it's accurate for what you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
He has a clause that he has to,
To
work
fulfill.
for the ministry.
Yeah. Anybody have thoughts on it?
It's cute. I don't think the Wizarding World would do it. I think obviously their whole deal would be like, no magic, none whatsoever. But at the same time, I could see a pretty liberal like minister for magic be like, look, we have to regain this like magic loving spirit after the Salem witch trials. How can we do this? Well, maybe Santa Claus, and then do that. I kind of like that actually, and then it gets so far away from them in like folklore that they just can't do anything. It's like unicorns, they're a magical creature, but they're forever embedded in fairy tales. I like that. No, that Terrence, the more that I talk about this, the more I like it. I'm gonna say I like it.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a neat idea to think about. It has like how Santa Claus has ties to the wizarding world. I mean, it's a neat thought. It's a nice sentiment. It's a great magical thought to think about.
I love it.
Yep, me too. All right. Well, I think that is about it. Does anybody? Let's go ahead and go through real quick. Is anybody working on anything they'd like to plug to our listeners out there? No, Tyler's shaking his head. No, not at all.
My audio dramas aren't launching until the end of the year.
Aha! Ooh, teasers.
Yeah, I'm excited. They're all Wizarding World based. And I like this whole recording, like audio, like format. So I'm gonna keep doing it. And I have a couple friends who we're gonna do a bunch of like Wizarding World audio dramas. But that's not until later year, so we don't have to do anything with that.
Fun stuff. I know. I had kind of had the same idea a few months ago, and then I got drafted to do some Facebook work for MuggleNet. So
I was gonna say, let's do it, Terrence.
Give me until about June or so, then I can start, getting my life back a little bit.
I'm gonna hit you up. Don't even worry.
Check out Tyler's podcast, Meeting Walt, if you're a Disney fan. Such an amazing job that they do over there. Also, the Protego Foundation. Do you have anything coming up for the Protego Foundation, by the way?
We have a lot of good stuff that will be launching in May. So keep your eyes out and hope a bunch of people can help us save some magical creatures in our world.
It's a good month. It's going to be a busy month in May. Gretchen, what about you? Any projects you're working on?
Now that I think of it, I'm not sure I ever mentioned that I was promoted to the manager of the news team for MuggleNet.com, a great website. So please go to MuggleNet, check out the news team's articles. They write some awesome stuff. And now that I'm manager, I don't have to write so much. That's pretty nice. Yeah.
Congrats.
Check out that. But I'm also writing for Luke's podcast network, the Podcast That, Family of Podcasts. The last article I wrote was about the podcast that floats down here, which is about Stephen King's It. So that's super interesting. You can check out my blogs on their website. Other than that, just hanging out, tweeting about Harry Potter while talking about Harry Potter while watching Game of Thrones.
It's a great, it's two wonderful series. Oh my gosh. And Alex, you are busy with, obviously with your Muggle job and everything, but you also have a project that you're working on the small stage.
Yes. So every lawyer will tell you that their first ambition was to be an actor, and then they decided that they wanted to have a steady income, so they became a lawyer. I actually found acting after I started my legal profession. But yes, I am in a production right now called Agnes of God. So if you're in the South Florida area, hit us up. We open this weekend. We have tonight off, thank God. Pun intended. So we're doing that. And then I'm actually directing this summer for the first time, which will be super cool. I'm directing my favorite play called Proof, which will be lovely, lovely. I crushed a Harry Potter trivia brunch. Thank you very much. I had not been in touch with my Harry Potter roots for a little while. I hadn't been on the podcast. I was having some withdrawals. My friend hosted a Waffles and Wizards brunch. And then we kept tally with Birdie Bot's Every Flavor Beans, crushed that, felt very proud of myself. So there was that. And then also thank you for the round of applause, Gretchen. And the only other project that I can comment on is one that I just came up with as we were recording here. I have asked everyone to make a pledge that whoever gets to the new Hagrid's ride first has to record audio of themselves on the ride. If it's me, it will just be a lot of screaming. And if my husband's on the ride, it will be a lot of him saying, Alex, please don't scream. So I'm hoping someone else will get to the ride before me, because I think one of my colleagues today was like, oh, have you ever recorded an episode in Universal Studios Orlando? I was like, I know there's some audio footage that's been used for the Hogshead episodes, and maybe there's been some in the past that I'm not aware of, but I was like, oh, it'd be really cool to kind of like, everyone's doing these videos and these articles about the new ride. What if someone's only introduction was just the audio of the ride? So that is my new project. I am daring everyone on Hogwarts Radio, even Luke and Bailey, if you get to the ride first, record it. Let's see what it's like. And that's all I got, guys.
She's like, mic drop. All right. Well, as for me, I do have a new podcast that's going to be launching in July. So that's all I'm going to be saying about that. Teasers galore, I know. But that's the only thing that I have that I'll be working on at that time other than Hogwarts Radio. I am also the Facebook team manager for MuggleNet, so the content over on the MuggleNet Facebook page invites you to go and take a look at, so you guys can get your likes on and shares and all that other stuff. But other than that, it's been a real fun episode here. We want to thank everybody so much for tuning in. What a smart, amazing panel we've had today. Thank you so much for joining us. Once again, I am Terrence Pinkston.
I'm Alex Lohman, and I can't unmute my button. I'm Alex Lohman.
I'm Tylor Starr.
And I'm a blast-ended screw.
And we'll see you next week for episode 243. Bye-bye.
That was bloody brilliant.
Codswallop.